Okay, so let us continue from here. Uh, I hope you can see the full screen. If there is any problem with the screen, let me know through the chat window. And I hope the voice is also clear. So yesterday we were discussing some verses related to divine qualities. So we started discussion on some verses given in the 16th chapter, which is titled Divine and Demoniac Qualities. And first, we looked at the set of divine qualities that are given. We summarized very quickly uh, the major characteristics given, and we tried to understand the meaning of each of these terms basically. So, fearlessness, uh, trying to elevate the consciousness through yoga, cultivation of knowledge, charity, self study, simplicity, non violence, truthfulness, the process of sacrifice or yajna, peacefulness, non envy, that means lack of envy, kindness towards all living beings, freedom from greed, conceit, stability of mind, forgiveness, determination, cleanliness, internal as well as external, lack of ego. These were all divine qualities. And then we went towards the set of negative qualities. Some of the negative qualities, we just started with the list basically. So from here onwards, there are a lot of descriptions of negative qualities given. Uh, this is the starting verse. This is the first verse where some negative qualities are being described. After that, lot of attitudinal aspects are given related to such negative people, or people who are uh, under the influence of negative qualities. What is their thinking process? What is their attitude? How do they basically think of themselves? How do they deal with the world? All that is given. So here we saw that some of the main negative qualities that are being discussed is pride, conceit, ego, anger, harshness, lack of knowledge. All these are basically negative qualities, and these things arise because of entanglement with the lower nature. So we have studied many times that we have to elevate ourselves from the lower self, that means the mind and the body, and stay at the higher self, that means become associated with the higher self, which is the atma, which is the self, which is the pure self. But those who are not able to do that, those who get engrossed in the lower self, those who get too much influenced by the lower self, which is basically the pull of the bodily senses or pull of the mind, ego, emotion, etc. So they basically degrade themselves and they acquire negative qualities. Automatically, those who try to elevate themselves and become self-controlled become detached from the mind and body and become the observer, controller, become mindful observer of body and mind. For them, the divine qualities automatically get manifested. It is an automatic outcome. So that's what we discussed. And towards the end, we were looking at this verse where it is mentioned that the people who are having these negative qualities, they don't have the knowledge or understanding of what is right, what is wrong. They don't have the right knowledge. So next we see here there are a couple of verses which are talking about uh, some concepts related to atheism. So here, if you look at this verse, असत्यम अप्रतिष्ठां ते जगद आहुर अनीश्वरम अपरस्पर संभूतम किम अन्यत काम हेतुकम. So asatyam means asatyam apratistham. That means there is no foundation of this world. It is not having any foundational force. So the theist belief is that there is a foundational force, there is a divine force, or there is a creator, there is some force, some power, some higher power behind this creation, which is the foundation of this creation. It is not independent, it is not created accidentally. So those who believe in some higher power or those who believe in creator, uh, for them there is a foundation, there is a creator who has basically designed this world, created this world. So the theistic philosophy in all different religions, it has this common point. uh, and whereas the atheistic point of view is that there is no creator, there is no foundation. So that's what is being said here, that those who do not have, those who don't really uh, think deeply, those who don't really basically even, first is being able to think, and second is be understanding the complexity of the nature and the vastness of the world and the creation, and wondering about the sheer scale that we have, and looking at the systems that we have in this world. Even if you look at every single living entity, every aspect of the nature, there is some design. It is not just randomly coming out. I mean, there is a well established system. Even within our own body, we don't know what is going on. We study some things in our biology books, but ourselves, we are not having any information what is going on in the body. It is automatically going on. Everything is automated. So we don't have to worry about it. As long as we are feeding it, rest of the things are taken care. Of course, there are regulations. If you want to keep it healthy, if you want it to last long, you have to do certain things in a certain way. That is there, but more or less, it is working in an automated way. We don't know about its mechanisms. Likewise, there are many things in the nature about which we don't know. The mechanism is automated. It is automatically functioning. Planets are evolving. There are rotating on their own axis and revolving around the sun or whatever. Means there are so many uh, the solar system, so many stars, so many galaxies. So looking at this, uh, there is definitely, people commonly may think that there is a design, means there is some creator. It cannot happen accidentally. So that is one logic. So whereas another logic is that, okay, means all the things are absolutely random. There is no creator, and somehow accidentally life has started on Earth because of some some accidental phenomena, because of some uh, chance phenomena. Life has arisen on this earth. So that is what is being said. So here, this atheistic philosophy is being derided. This is, being, I would say, uh, put down in a way. So this is being said that people who are having basically negative attitude, who are basically having negative qualities, they are more likely to accept this fact that the world is without any foundation, or the world is without any creator. So if you look at the words over here, what are the words used? Asatyam apratishtamte jagad ahur anishwaram. Means they say that the world is without any foundation. Apratishtam. Jagad ahur. Jagad means this world. Ahur means to be known. Jagad ahur anishwaram is without creator, without controller. Ishwar means the controller, the creator, the supreme power. So they say that there is no supreme power, there is no creator, there is no controller, and aparaspara sambhutam. Aparaspar means by chance, accidentally. So there is no creation process. There's everything that has come in the creation, that has happened because of some accident, maybe a big bang or whatever. So that is aparaspara sambhutam. And then kim anyat kama hetukam. So kim anyat kama hetukam means there is no other reason other of the life. If we have to basically look at the reason or the purpose of the life, there is no other uh, goal than gratifying our own self, gratifying our own senses. That is called calm. Calm means gratifying our own senses, gratifying our own desires. So we have already seen that a disturbed mind, an agitated mind, the mind which has not been elevated, for an individual who has not got good control over the mind and body, he will not be able to control his desires. He will be pulled by his numerous desires, hundreds of desires, and he will always keep trying to pursue those desires in 100 directions. So that's what is being said here, that those who do not have self control, those who run behind senses, those who run behind the calm means desire to gratify themselves, desire to gratify themselves by body or mind. That is the main meaning of calm. So kim anyat kama haitukam. So there is no other reason other than calm, other than satisfying your own desires. That is the purpose of existence for them. So this is the summary given. That, okay, those who are uh, not established in the process of yoga, those who basically do not even try to think of higher purpose, or basically the higher goal of life, they don't even try to control themselves. They don't even try to elevate themselves from the level of matter. So what we have seen earlier is that in the yoga practice, uh, there is a process of elevating ourselves from prakriti. So there are two terms: this purusha and prakriti. So the jivas are getting entangled in the Prakriti. They are trying to enjoy the Prakriti. And Prakriti is matter, mind, body, intelligence, and the gross matter, which is basically the ether, water, fire, air, uh, and earth. So basically, the jiva is trying to enjoy that Prakriti, and whatever body he has, or whatever mind, thoughts, whatever inclination, whatever tendencies it has, so it is trying to basically make use of his body and mind to enjoy more and more in this Prakriti. And human beings, of course, they have been given higher intelligence. They have been given the capability to discern right from wrong. And therefore, if they also do not elevate themselves, if they also follow just the instinct of the nature, if they also follow just the pull of the body and the mind, then they will be uh, basically degrading themselves. Means they will be just acting for their own gratification, acting for their own desires. So that was it is written over here. In the next verse, if you see, there is a link with this one. It says, "Etam dishtimavashtabhya nashtatmano alpabuddhayah Prabhanti Ugra Karmana Chaya Jagatohita." So here it means etam drishtim avashtabhya, means by following this point of view. Drishtim means this point of view. Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano alpabuddhaya. So here there such people are being called nashtatmano. Nashtatmano means those who have degraded their self. So we have seen again that what do we mean by degrading the self. So remember in the sixth chapter also we have seen this verse, this term, uddhayidatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayit atmaihi atmanor bandhu atmaiva ripuratmanah. So in the sixth chapter, this verse had come where it is mentioned that if we control our mind, then we can elevate ourselves. Whereas if we do not control the mind, if we do not bring the mind and thought under control, then it will lead to our degradation. So the mind is the best friend, mind is the worst enemy. A controlled mind is the best friend, an uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy. It can lead to degradation of the self. So why the self is degraded? Because the self has not practiced the right determination. Determination is the characteristics of the self. And if the self does not use the right determination and right knowledge to control the mind and elevate itself from the material, body and the mind, it will be pulled by the mind into all different directions, and it will be degraded. So that's what it is being said. So those people who fail to achieve this, fail to strive in this direction, they are nashtatmano. They basically degrade their self. The self basically gets attached to the lower nature, that is force of prakriti, force of body and mind. They are not able to elevate from there, and that basically leads to all kinds of complexity, right? So if we have numerous times we have taken examples like what is the benefit of staying little detached from the body and mind and the influences of the body and mind. So that definitely is helpful. But those who are not able to do that, they get entangled and they are being called as nasht atmano. And alpa buddhaya. Alpa buddhaya means little intelligence or limited intelligence, poor intelligence. So ultimately, it was the job of the intelligence, right? So right intelligence, right knowledge helps us in elevating ourselves. So those who do not acquire the right knowledge and they do not practice right intelligence to basically guide the mind, control the mind, definitely they will be captivated by the mind. They will be captivated by their thoughts, and they will be pulled by their thoughts and mind. That is what is being mentioned over here. So, nashtatmano alpa buddhaya. So they are basically alpa buddhaya. They have limited intelligence. They have not acquired the right knowledge. They have not acquired the right intelligence. And then the next line, which is important, it says that they pravanti ugra karmana. So they get engaged in ugra karma, means work which is harmful for the world and basically damaging for the world. So they are so attached to their own gratification, their own bodily and mental gratification, that they don't care for the rest of the world. They are ready to degrade and destroy the world also for their own selfish desires. So basically, they don't have a bigger purview that I'm living in this world. I have this body given by the nature. I have to rely on the nature for my sustenance. I am dependent upon the society, and we should live in a sustainable manner. Basically, all those thoughts don't come. they just blindly look at gratifying themselves more and more. And to do that, they are ready to destroy the nature, they are ready to destroy the world. So they act in such a way that it leads to destruction of the world. That's what is being said. So here the link is being drawn that okay, means uh, if you don't see a purpose behind the creation, if you don't really acknowledge a creator, if you don't follow the principles of yoga, if you don't elevate yourself from the levels of prakriti and do not detach yourself from mind and body, then you will be following just your natural instincts, and the instinct will force you to follow your desires, and desires are limitless, they are always multiplying one after another, right? So in that case the individual will end up destroying, means he will cause destruction to the world. And that's what is happening today, right? So in the name of consumerism, in the name of market driven economy, there is so much of destruction all over the world. Forests getting destroyed, so much inequality in the society, poor suffering and the rich becoming richer. There is so much problem with respect to major amenities, whether it is clean water, whether it is nutritious food. We are getting polluted food also because of all the chemicals, all the pesticides. So every aspect of life we are getting degradation. There is so much pollution in ocean. We are having so much plastic, so much pollution everywhere. Oceans are polluted, rivers are drying basically, water level is going down everywhere. So many times we have seen news and scientists warning us that water levels all around the country is going down, and in next 10 years all the major cities will be out of groundwater. Let's say just like Chennai, it happened, right? So recently, Chennai was out of groundwater. Likewise, there is a prediction that in next 10 years, there will be extreme shortage of water. And likewise, in agriculture, also same thing. Food production will decline. So all these predictions are coming. Global warming is happening. So all these things are definitely indicative that yeah, this is the thing which is happening. People have become so blind in gratifying themselves, gratifying their small objectives, that they have lost the bigger picture. So they have basically lost the concern about the bigger world, of which they are very small parts. That is what is being mentioned. Then the next verse say, कामम् आश्रित्य दुष्पूरं दम्भमानमदान्विताः मोहात् गृहीत्वा सद्ग्राहन् प्रवर्तन्ते शुचिव्रताः. So, kamam ashritya dushpuram. This is a very important word. If you see, kamam ashritya dushpuram. Kamam means once again desires, hundreds of desires. They are always attracted towards their desires. Dushpuram. Dushpuram means very difficult to fulfill. It's always multiplying. Desires never end. If you desire something today, if you achieve it, next time you will get a bigger desire. If you are looking for a particular post today, next time, once you achieve it, next time you will look for something bigger, or you will basically look towards something who is having something better. So desires do not end; they always keep multiplying. So if unless somebody is self-controlled and having satisfaction, a sense of satisfaction and contentment, the desires will always and always keep multiplying. That's why it is saying that the nature of the desire is dushpuram. Kamam ashritya dushpuram. Kam or the desires are always dushpuram. They keep multiplying endlessly. Dhamma mana madanvita. So we have also, if you remember Mahatma Gandhi's quote, he also had a very famous quote which says that this earth has everything, all the resource to satisfy the need of all human beings. So earth has enough resource to satisfy the need, the requirement of all human beings, but it may not have the resource to satisfy the greed of one human being. So the need can be fulfilled for all human beings, but the greed for a single human being can also be so big that it can be, it can be difficult to fulfill. That's what is happening. So some people, uh, because of lack of self-control, because of lack of higher principles, because of lack of higher understanding, they are so self-centered, they are so self-focused, they are so much deeply engrossed in gratifying their own self that they forget higher purpose. They forget that they are just a small temporary part of this entire world. Their body will come and go, and within that short duration, they are causing so much destruction to the planet. So this is what is happening. So that's what is being said, that these people are dambha mana madanvita. Dambha means too much ego, too much conceit, So because of their accomplishment or whatever access they may have, whatever good luck they may have, they are full of dambh, means ego and conceit, and they are lost into themselves. They don't think about others. They don't have empathy towards others. They don't even have empathy towards the planet on which they are living and the resources that they are using. And mohat, next line is mohat grihitva satgrahan. Mohat means illusion. They don't have the right knowledge. Mohat, they are under moha. Moha means illusion, completely delusion, not having the right understanding. Grihitva asat. This is a single word. It is combining several small words. So in Sanskrit, this is how it works. Means sometimes you may get sandhi of multiple small words. So it can easily be broken. Means there are some texts where we will find that such long words are broken into small words, which can be easy to read. Here, at once, if you try to read it, it will be very difficult probably. But there are several other texts where you will find it in the broken form. Then it is easy to basically read those words and understand and remember the meaning, and then you can read the entire sentence. So here it is mohat. First word is mohat. Grihitva asat. Grihitva asat. Grihitva means by holding the asat. Asat grahan means asat means we have discussed this concept of sat and asat. Asat means things which are temporary, things which are going to change, things which are always moving. So the nature, the matter is such that it always keeps changing. Body keeps changing, mind keeps changing, emotion keeps changing, the mental attitude keeps changing. So all these things by observing we can see what is sat and what is asat. So all the mental process that is going on, all the mental drama that is going on in our own mind, all the movie that is going on in our own mind, that is all asat because this keeps changing, and the body also decays gradually from childhood to old age, keeps changing all the time, every day. So these are asat. They are being referred to as asat. Likewise, any desire to gratify the body, gratify the mind, there may be hundreds of desires. So one who is not self-controlled, for him, every moment there will be one desire or the other. He will never be satisfied within himself. He will always be running towards external objectives. He will not be satisfied with what he is doing, what he is getting. He will never be content. So contentment is a very good quality, right? So whatever situation you may be in, being grateful, being content, and trying to put our best effort, whatever our goal is, whatever our aim is, trying to put our best effort in going towards the right direction, contributing our best. But the person who is not content, always greedy, that today I have achieved this, next I have to make myself bigger, I have to enjoy more, I have to boost my status more, I have to show off to the world that I am better, I am much more richer than others. So this tendency of showing off to other, dambh, showing off that okay, I am great and I am rich and I am capable and I am so and so. So basically, trying to basically put yourself on a higher pedestal, always trying to basically enjoy this sense of superiority. That is called dambha. So these things are again at the level of mind and body. With the mind and body, these things will go just like a blob, right? So just like a bubble, it will burst, and after that, we don't have the same body and mind. Maybe next time we will have something else. So not realizing that they are too blind and too self-centered. That's why it is being called asad grahan. They are attached to asad, something which is temporary. They are just trying to gratify their mind and body. They are just trying to basically provide some temporary gratification to the mind and body, right? Ultimately, even the gratifications which look like long lasting, that okay, if I get a big award today, maybe whole life I will be gratified. I will be able to show to people that okay, I am such and such award winner. But ultimately, this life is itself temporary, right? So if you understand the bigger picture, that you will leave this body, and if you understand the law of karma and the cycle of birth and death, you will go to some other body. So whatever you have done here, that will also be left behind. So if this concept is understood, then of course even accomplishments etc. that we always crave after, that will also look puny. So doing good work, contributing our best in the process of yajna, that is important. Trying to contribute in the best possible way for the welfare of our organization, society, world, that is definitely good. But giving too much importance to our own mind and body, And in this entire universe, not understanding that we are a tiny speck, that is what is creating problem. So giving too much self importance, trying to think too much over ourselves, trying to give too much, I would say, significance to this temporary body and mind, that creates a lot of problem for ourselves as well as to others. That is what is being said. So we are getting attached to something which is asat or temporary. So if we understand and realize this, that okay, this body is asat and the life is temporary, very short, then we will not worry so much about many things that we keep worrying. We'll try to live a happy life, try to deal with the problems in a balanced manner, try to contribute our best, and not having all kinds of negative things that okay, that person achieved so much and he's having so much, I am not having this. So those kind of attitudes are coming because of this desire to gratify ourselves again and again, more and more. So that is what is being mentioned. Don't get attached to what is temporary. Try to make best use of your faculty. Try to contribute the best, and live in a balanced way by controlling the mind and body. That's the main message again and again. And then it is Suchi Vrata, Pravadante Suchi Vrata. This is Asuchi Vrata basically. So if you look at the Sandhi, it will be Pravartante Stuti Vrata. So after the Pravartante, there is a this symbol you see, it is like a stretch. This symbol is for a stretch. So Pravartante Stuti Vrata. So that means there is a. So a Stuti Vrata. So that means Stuti means pavitra and pure. Uh, those who are clean by themselves, mentally clean, I would say clean by conscience. So that is clean. And those who are unclean, that means they are always doing wrong things to gratify themselves, they are asuchi vrata. They will do anything to gratify themselves. They don't worry about morality, they don't worry about truthfulness. They will do any wrong act to just gratify themselves and fulfill their hundreds of desires. So they are asuchi vrata. And then next, if you see, next verses, चिन्ताम् अपरिमेयाम् च प्रलयान्तम् उपाश्रिताः कामोपभोगपरमा एतावत् निश्चिताः. Chintam aparimeyam. Chintam means worries, all kinds of worries, all kinds of anxieties. So they are always anxious how to grab more and more, how to elevate ourselves more and more, how to basically, go to the next level and acquire more belongings, how to basically show off more and more to other people. So they are having, and they may be having conflict because uh, if somebody else is doing good, they will be having envy and jealousy towards others. They will try to pull down others. So this is, nature wise, this will be there in them. So they will having all kinds of worries. Looking at others, they will get worried. They will get tensed. They will get frustrated that why that guy is doing good, I am not doing good. And themselves, they will try to do all kinds of wrong things to go forward. So rather than taking the right path, rather than doing the right work, they will do all kinds of wrong things to basically propel themselves forward. So that's why they are chintam aparimeyam, means there is no limit of their worries till the last point. Pralayantam upasritaha. Pralayantam means till the end point, till their death. So even till their deathbed, they are having all kinds of worries, all kinds of tension, all kinds of anxieties related to the world. So they don't understand that once the life is gone, whatever they have accumulated, whatever they have gathered, all the things will be zero. Everything will be gone. So they don't basically understand that purview, and they keep worrying, they keep fretting about every small thing. So rather than focusing on their own self improvement, rather than focusing on the higher principles of yoga, rather than focusing on the principles of self elevation through the process of sadhana, control of mind, etc., they are allowing their mind to get entangled in small things of life, and getting agitated and disturbed. Even at the last moment, they don't have peace of mind. Even till the last moment, their mind is very agitated, which is not a very good way to live the life, right? So, in case at the last moment, we would like to have full control, right? So, if we want to live peacefully, everybody wants that. Okay, in last moments, we should live peacefully. We should not be agitated by mental anxieties or physical pain. Uh, so again, yoga is said to basically help us in that also. So if we have good control, if we have practiced mind control all throughout the life, if we have practiced self control all throughout the life, that last passage is also going to be easier. That's what is being said all the time in Gita. If you look at, say, for example, 8th chapter, there is a description of the last moment. How should we leave the last time? And basically, how should we leave the body at the last moment? What should be our state of mind in the last moment? So those things we'll discuss maybe if time permits. Again, there are some theological components, but what is being said here is that those who have not practiced this yoga, they have not practiced self-control, even till the last moment, their mind will be so agitated and disturbed that they leave in such a disturbed state of mind. They live in such a disturbed, agitated state of mind, which is not good. And then it is saying kam upabhoga parama etavad iti nishchita. So for them, kam upabhog is param. So kam upabhoga parama means for them, kam and upabhog is param. That means for them, the highest thing is gratifying their own desire. Kam and upabhog. Upabhog means enjoyment, enjoying through body and enjoying through mind. So these are the tools. Like always, we have these two things: raga dvesh. So raga dvesh, or basically ichha dvesh, samuthena dandvamohina bharata. So either we have ichha to gratify ourselves, or we have dvesh towards others. All either these are the two things that we have all the time. So kam upabhog means always trying to gratify our own desires, always trying to enjoy to various sources. So if we stop chasing this desire, then only we can get peace. In second chapter also, it is mentioned clearly that if we observe our mind carefully, it will just keep running behind desires, hundreds of desires all the time. If we just observe carefully what is going on, just be watchful of each and every thought. Ultimately, that is what it is doing all the time. So if we don't practice this process of basically mindfulness, self-control, etc. So for us, throughout our life, will we be just pursuing the tendencies of the body and mind, trying to just keep gratifying ourselves, running behind desires, and desires never get fulfilled. So that results in we also never get fulfillment. We also stay agitated all the time. We also stay unfulfilled all the time. We also stay empty all the time. So we never get that satisfaction, that inner bliss, that fulfillment, that satisfaction. That never comes because there is the characteristics of desires is like that. Characteristics of body and mind is like that. So unless we elevate ourselves from that level, we will not find that peace, that fulfillment, that contentment. That is what is being mentioned. So you may say that okay, these are description of negative qualities, but again, through this we are getting message, right? So that we should not develop such quality. We should try to elevate ourselves and be established in yoga, so that we don't fall into such qualities. That is what I would like to say. So somebody may say that okay, means uh, what is the point in reading about negative qualities? But we should take it in a positive way. We should try to take it as a warning or an alert that okay, these are some negative things that will happen to you if you don't control yourself. This is how you are going to get degraded if you don't control yourself. That is what the purpose is. Next, if you see, uh, next verse is Asha Pasha Shatairbadha Kama Krodha Parayana Ihante Kama Bhogarthan Anyayena Artha Sanchayan. So here it is being said Asha Pasha Shatairbadha. Again the same thing. Asha means desire. Pash means ropes. So they are always trapped with the ropes, networks of hundreds of desire. Asha Pasha Shatai. Shatai means hundreds. Baddha means bound. So they are bound by hundreds of desires, ropes of hundreds of desires. So desires are like ropes. They bound us. They basically don't let us go free. They attack. They basically anchor us to the lower level. We always stay agitated. We always keep striving to fulfill them in hundred different ways. We become like greedy people, always trying to extract something or the other from circumstances, from people, from things. So always trying to get something or the other, either mental pleasure or bodily pleasure, always trying to get something or the other. That is called asha par shatair baddha, always trapped in hundreds of ropes of desires. Kama krodha parayanaha. Kama krodha means again the same thing. Kam means desire to gratify oneself, always trying to do that. And if that is not getting fulfilled, then we have krodh. So kama krodho vijayate, that we have seen in second chapter, that kama krodho vijayate. If kam is not fulfilled, then we get krodh. If we expect something from someone and we don't get it, then we get angry. So kama krodha parayana. They are always entangled with calm or krodh, desires or anger, always agitated internally. And then it is ihante kama bhogarthan anyayin artha sanjayan. So for the purpose of gratifying themselves, they will not stop from obtaining or acquiring wealth in illegal way. Anyayin artha sanjayan. Anyayin means through improper means, through immoral means. So anyayin artha sanchayan. Arth means wealth. Sanchayan means gathering. So those people will not even think twice before assimilating wealth through illegal means. So they don't worry about what is dharma, what is adharma, what is right, what is wrong. They are so greedy about their own selfish purposes. They are so greedy. They are so blind behind their own desires, about their own extended desires, that they are ready to do wrong things. Even if some person is trying to do corruption for their family, so it is not that they are doing something selflessly, right? So ultimately they are doing it for their own satisfaction, their own family. So even that is gratifying their own desire. So that is being referred to as anyayin artha sanchayam. That is very evident, right? Today we see so many cases of corruption all in all spheres of life, whether it is government, whether it is private sector. Many cases we keep seeing, many examples we keep seeing every day. So this is nothing new to us. So in today's scenario, this is even more relevant, that people are trying to assimilate wealth through illegal means, through wrong means. And they don't even worry about the principle of karma, that there is a karma chakra. If I am doing something wrong today, tomorrow I will have to face the consequences. So they don't even worry about that. So if every person believed in karma chakra, if they knew that there is a karma and its reaction, and there is a creator, there is a conscious creator who witnesses everything, and the cycle of karma is automated in such a way that things are going to get back. They are going to come back to me. If I do something wrong today, negative things are going to get back to me. They are going to catch me. So if everybody knew that in their heart, they would never dare to do wrong things. But because of not accepting this, because of not understanding, uh, you know, uh, the higher principles of selfless action in yoga, uh, uh, you know, a disciplined way of life, they don't accept this principle. For them, the only purpose is by hook or crook, gratify our own self, gratify our own desires, gratify our own purpose. And for that, they are ready to do whatever illegal things may be required. Next words you see, idam adhyamaya labdam idam prapsyate manoratam, idam asti idam api me bhavishyati punardhanam. So this is just giving the psychology. Means they, how do they think that, okay, idam adhyamaya labdhyam. So today I have gained this. Today I have gained this object and this much wealth. Idam prapsyate manoratham. Tomorrow I will gain even more. The next line says idam asti idam api me bhavishyati punardhanam. So today I have gained this, and tomorrow, according to my plan, I will gain even more. So that is what they are focusing. They're just trying to multiply their desires and try to acquire more and more, try to hoard more and more. So this is the hoarding tendency, right? So we see so much inequality in the society. Why? Because there are some people, a handful of people, maybe 1% in the country or lower than that, who are just greedy behind their own desire. So an industrialist who is building palaces for his family just next to a slum where thousands and probably lakhs of people are living in filthy conditions, and just next to that you will see a huge building which is so luxurious and all kinds of facilities. So what does it show? It shows this kind of tendency, right? So trying to acquire as much as possible, hoard as much as possible. So not just looking at their own need, they are not limited by their needs, they are limited, they are basically having unlimited greed. They want to expand themselves as much as possible. And then some more things are given over here. You see, ashomaya hata shastru hanya seja paranapi ishvaro ham bhogi siddho ham balavan sukhi. So this is the atheistic mentality, where they are saying that even uh, in terms of uh, other people with whom they relate, they may have negative attitude, and they may try to identify people who are hurting their interest, and they may try to destroy them or hurt them. So that is what is being said. Asau maya hatashastru. Today I have destroyed this enemy, and tomorrow I will destroy others also. This is their planning. So they have this negative attitude towards others. They are trying to hurt and destroy others. So whoever comes in the path of their self-interest, they will be ready to destroy them, right? So they become their enemy. So even if somebody is trying to tell them the right path, trying to stop their corruption, try to stop their illegal means, they will try to kill that person. They will try to destroy that person. So many things like this happen, right? So this is nothing new. We have seen so many news, so many movies, everywhere this kind of things are described. Ishvaro aham bhogi. So I am the Ishwar. So they don't even fear that there is a God. Means I become God. So I am the God. I am the boss. Nobody is higher than me. I can do whatever I want. So this is the atheistic mentality. I am not worried about karma. I am not worried about that there is a regulator, there is a controller, there is a Ishwar, there is a karma chakra. Nothing worries them. So they are just looking at their own gratification. That's why it is being said. They feel that Ishvaro Ham, I am Ishwar, I am God. Nobody is higher than me. I am completely independent. I can do whatever nonsense I want. Can desire. I can gratify my hundredth of desire. Nobody is there to stop me. I am not accountable. So that is what is being said here. This is the mentality which is being described here. Ishvaro aham bhogi. I am the bhogi. Bhogi means I am the gratifier. I want to enjoy. I am the enjoyer. I want to enjoy as much as possible. This is my right. Means as long as my body exists, means my life purpose is to enjoy as much as possible. So Ishvaro aham bhogi. Siddho aham balvan sukhi. I am powerful and I am happy. So this is the mentality. Next, if you see next verse, also something similar. आद्योऽपि ज्ञानवान् अस्मि कोऽन्योऽस्ति दृशो मया यच्छेदाश्चामि मोदिष्य इति यज्ञानविमोहिताः. So they are so deluded that they think that they are knowledgeable and powerful. Adyobi Jnanavan Asmi Ko Anyosti Drishomaya. There is nobody like me, or basically I am among the best, I am among the topmost people, I am so wealthy, I am so aristocratic, I am so powerful, there are so many followers I have so many employees, I mean I am the boss and I can do things as per my wish. I have so much bank balance, I have so much property. That is what is being discussed. So they basically are so self-centered and self-focused that they basically are full of conceit and pride. Next, it says, Atma Sambhavita Stabdha Dhanamanamadhanvita Yajante Nama Yaggreste Tambhena Avadhi Purvakam. So here, Atma Sambhavita, again the same thing, conceit, pride, uh, ego. That is Atma Sambhavita Stabdha. Stabdha means so much saturated with pride, so much saturated with conceit and ego that they are not ready to listen to any good advice. They are not even opening their eyes to reality. So they are Atma Sambhavita Stabdha. The word used here is Stabdha. They are blind. They are completely infatuated. They don't have the right perception. They can't even see beyond their own limited egos. Dhanamana Madanvita. Again, you see how strong words are being used. Madanvita means infatuated, mad. They are just like uh, a drunk person. So Dhanamana Madanvita, because of their wealth and the prestige, they are blind. Madanvitah. Yajantes nama yagyaste dambhen avidhi purvakam. So they also want to show some religiosity. They want to basically show that they are pious. So for that purpose, they may do some religious activities also, pious activities also. Maybe they will try to do some donations, some charity, but to show off that yeah, we are doing some good work also. But at their core, these are the qualities that they have. So that's what it is being Yajante nama yagyaste. Means for the showing off, they will do some yagya, some religious activities, some charity, uh, and that also without proper method and out of ego, just for the purpose of show off. So these things have no value. That is not the right purpose of yagya. That okay, you accumulate and hoard a lot of things and then try to show off that okay, I am also doing some small charity. And then next is ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham jashansrita mam atma paradeheshu pravadishanto bhayasuka. So ahankaram. So these words are very, very simple. Here all broken words are there. Ahankaram, balam, darpam, kamam, krodham, jashansrita. So these are the qualities. They are always basically saturated with these negative things. Ahankaram, ego, power, conceit, desire, hundreds of desire. Kama means desire, anger, Sanskrit means it's saturated with all these things. Mam Atma Paradeheshu Pravidishanto Bhayasuka. Now this line says they are basically opposed to the divine also. Mam. So Krishna is saying as a divine that they are even opposed to me, means they don't recognize me, they don't basically acknowledge me and my presence. So that's why it is saying Mam Atma Paradeheshu. I, the supreme person, the God is situated everywhere. All he's omnipresent. He's also situated in everyone's heart as the source of life, as the life force, as Paramatma. But they don't acknowledge, they don't basically give any importance. They basically disregard the presence of Paramatma or the observer or the monitor, the controller, all throughout. So they don't believe, they don't basically regard his presence. And that's why they are fearless. I mean, fearless means in the wrong way, means they are basically having no fear of the results of their wrong actions also. That's why they are Krishna is saying Mam Atma Paradeheshu. I am situated in their body and everybody else's body. I'm omnipresent, I'm all knowing. I have described these things he has described earlier also. Yesterday we saw the description of the divine, right? So there all these qualities of the divine were discussed. So they don't understand this, they don't accept it, they disregard the presence of the divine. So that is what is being discussed. And then there are a couple of verses over here. Again, these are more theological verses, I would say. So it is being seen as a warning. So if you look at these two last verses, it can be seen as a warning verse that okay, what will happen to these kind of people. So this is again, if you look at it objectively for the time being, so these are like warning verses that okay, if you degrade yourself to that level, your life will be degraded more and more. You will be degrading yourself more and more. That's what is being mentioned here. And through that process, you will go down to such a level that you will never be able to elevate yourself or basically overcome the effects of your bad actions. So this is also involving some basically effect of afterlife, basically the rebirth principle, the reincarnation principle. So it is being said that those who do bad karma, ultimately they will be born in lower species or basically species with very less intelligence or very low grade species, from where they will go down further in the cycle of life. So people who are attached towards negative qualities, they degrade themselves toward lower species, they migrate towards lower species. That's what is being mentioned over here. So here if you see तानहं दुषितक्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपामि ajasran ashubhan asuresveva yonishu. So he's saying that those who are degraded, those who are doing wrong things and this level of mischief, they are doing all the dharma just to gratify themselves. They are hurting the world, they are destroying the world, they are doing activities which are harmful for the world, they are dealing with others in the wrong way, they are doing corruption, they are hoarding money, and they are so puffed up because of their own power and ego and wealth, etc. So they are always engaged in adharma, the wrong action. And to those kind of people, uh, means the Paramatma or the divine force or the Karma Chakra, it always makes sure that they get degraded in lower lives. And the next verse also says that Ashturim yonim apanna mudha janmani mama prapya iva kaunteya tato yadim adhamam gadim Ashturim yonim apanna. So by being born in degraded yoni or degraded species, life after life, they will never be able to overcome the effect of their bad karma. They will have to suffer life after life, many, many lives. So, mam aprapya iva kaunteya. They are not able to, they will never be able to attain me or understand me or achieve me. So, remember, the purpose of all the learning, all the yoga, all the Veda is being described as knowing the truth, knowing the Brahman, knowing the Paramatma. So there is an incentive given that okay, means one level of yoga is that okay, you have self control, you control your mind and body, become self situated, and come to the level of atma, become controller, become like operator of your body and mind. That is the discipline, that is the self control. Even if we achieve that, our life gets a lot simplified. But the next level in the process of yoga is to connect with the paramatma. That is the devotion concept that also comes in Upanishad or Gita. Ultimately, unless we understand the Paramatma, unless we understand the divine and the omnipresence and the power of the divine, we will not be able to overcome this sansar. That's the concept, right? So in Upanishad, that is the concept. So what he's saying is, because of being degraded in lower species, they lose all their intelligence, and now anyway in lower species people, or living entities, can't think about divine. That means they can't think about higher consciousness and yoga and all that. Only human beings have the power to basically elevate themselves. Only they have the capability to perform yoga, perform meditation, think of divine, elevate themselves from the bodily instinct. Other animals, they are bound by bodily instinct. The whatever body, mind, they have to follow the instinct of the nature. They are bound. They have no freedom. But human beings have this freedom. They have the decision. They have the determination. They have the right knowledge. They have the capability to overcome the pull of this sansara, overcome the pull of this material nature, overcome the pull of this material body and mind, and elevate themselves to the level of Atma, and then connect with the Paramatma. So what he's saying is that if you degrade yourself to this level, if you attach yourself so badly with your body and mind and do wrong things to gratify your body and mind, you will be degraded life after life into lower species, and you will further become away from me. You will never be able to achieve the ultimate goal, which is realizing the self and realizing me. That's what is being said. So this is like a warning shloka that okay, if you do all these things, this is the result. Be ready. And lastly, there is a conclusion given. So here there is a concluding verse of this chapter. It says, Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nachanamatmanaha kamah krodhas tatha lobhas tasmad etatrayam tyajet. So this is saying that there are three doors to hell. Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha. So there are three doors to hell, which are basically degrading to the self. So basically, nashanam atmanaha, they lead to degradation of the self. Nashana atmanaha. So, and again, we have understood this term. What is degradation of the self means? Elevation of the self means detaching ourselves from the influence of prakriti or influence of mind and body. Detaching ourselves, elevating ourselves from the influence of mind and body, and the hundreds of desires and etc., disturbances, etc., that it generates. That is uh, that is called as elevation of the self. But getting too attached to the mind and body and its influences and its hundreds of desires and the pulls that it generates, that is nashanatmana, degrading ourselves. So there are three doors to such degradation. What are they? Kama, krodha, tata, lobha. Kama means again desires, hundreds of desires, always chasing hundreds of mental desires to gratify ourselves at different level. Krodha, the desire not getting fulfilled, then leading to krodha, agitation. And finally, lobha. Lobha means greed, acquiring more and more. Even if desire is getting fulfilled, acquiring even more. That is lobha. So these three things are being regarded as hell, door to hell, door to degradation of the self. And tasmad etat trayam tajet. Therefore, these three should be uh, given up. So this is the concluding verse. So Trividham Narakastedam Dwaram Nathanatmana. These are the three doors to hell. Kama, Krodhata, Lobha. Therefore, we should leave them. We should reject them. We should give them up. So this is the conclusion, and we have seen several things here. We have seen that there is a link being established between atheism and all the negative qualities. That if you don't believe that there is a creator, there is a higher power, there is a law of karma, then you are more prone to doing wrong things. You are more prone to doing corruption and unethical things, because then you don't see any other reason, because you are so trapped in your own lower self, in your own quagmire of body and mind, that you are not able to basically get beyond the pull of this body and mind. And just to satisfy your body and mind, you are doing all kinds of wrong things. You are destroying the nature, you are destroying the society, you are doing wrong things, you are accumulating wealth by wrong means, showing off your wealth and power to others, behaving badly with others, and doing all kinds of nonsense. So this is what is being said. So in summary, we have seen so many effects like corruption, crime, enmity, disorder in society. All these things are resulting from that. So uh, again, so here it's not to be taken in a way that okay, means those who are inquisitive and those who are not ready to accept this belief factor, that okay, there is a god, and even if I'm not able to see him, I must believe. So there are some people who have argument that okay, means unless I see and feel god, I don't believe. So it's not that they are being said negatively, taken negatively here. It's the only thing is overall attitude point of view, you have to see what is the attitude. At least if they understand that there is a higher purpose, means having self control and serving others, looking at the entire world, not just gratifying our own selfish purposes, but caring for others, caring for the world, looking at us as just a small part of the world and thinking about the world. That itself is a higher purpose. That itself is theism. So even if there is a environmentalist, for example, he is working hard to protect the environment in many different ways. He's trying to basically limit his own needs. He's trying to live in a simple way. He tries his best that he does not pollute the environment, and he also basically tries to tell others not to pollute the environment, save the animals, save the trees. So he is doing good for the world. Means he is not self-centered. He is not greedy. He is not having all these negative qualities. He is not egoistic, and he's not accumulating things for himself. He's worried about the whole world, and that way this world is Brahman. This world is divine. This world is creation of the divine. So that way he is in fact linking with the divine. He is linking with the nature. He is basically helping the creation. So that way it's not necessary that you have to be religious and you have to be uh, God worshipping, then only you are good, and if you are not having belief in God, then you are all you are demon. That is not the purpose. You have to look at all the things in holistic way, that okay, these are the qualities are like this, that you're just self-centered, you are focusing on your own ego, your own bodily gratification, your own mental gratification, and not worrying about the world, not worrying about others, not having a sense of service, but just trying to be the boss, trying to be the master, trying to be the enjoyer, trying to just gratify yourself all the time. That is demoniac. So we should look at it this way. So let us stop here and we'll try to see whether there is any question. Any question? So yeah, Sanskrit reading is, as I said, Mr. Day is asking that Sanskrit, it comes by practice. So there are a lot of textbooks where these words will be broken. Like if you look at ISKCON's Gita, they have done a very good job. They have basically broken every shloka into small words. So they have done the Sandhi Vichhed. So in Sanskrit there is Sandhi, right? So all the you may have a single word in the entire shloka, means one line, maybe a single word, that is difficult to read. But if you read the Sandhi Vichhed, that means the small words and also their meaning, then it becomes very easy. So those who want to read themselves and practice this reading, for them I would recommend look at the English translation of the Bhagavad Gita by ISKCON, by Prabhupada, and there means I have learned from there. Means I have learned all these translations from there, because the way it is written is they have broken down all the shlokas, and it is very easy to read and practice. So if you read regularly, it becomes almost by hearted. So that is the way. Yes. No. So in order to identify the words, ultimately, if you, for example, look at this word, nashtat mano alpa buddhayah. So for the beginner, it will be easier if you are able to mentally break it down. Nasht atmana alpa buddhayah. There are four words. So if we are mentally able to break it down, it will be easier for us to learn the whole word. Otherwise, it becomes difficult in the first go, right? So all the words here, they are combination of two, three words. I'm talking about the pronunciation. If you have to pronunciate, then you have to break, right? You have to identify what are the words. Without that, you will not be able to. So unless we understand these are the words here, we will not be able to pronounce clearly, right? So we need to identify what are the words. So breaking doesn't mean that we have to pronounce in a broken way. So it's not that I will pronounce like nashta, after that I will stop, and then I will pronounce atmana, then I will stop, then I will pronounce alpa, then I will stop. Not like that. I will pronounce nashta atmano alpa buddhayah. So I will pronounce like that, but mentally at least I will have to recognize these are the words nashta atmano alpa buddhayah. that helps in basically recital earlier. Yes, I could not hear the last sentence. Could you please describe once again? Any other question? Yeah, any other question?